Welcome to the Rich Mind Podcast.
One thing I was taught to me a long time ago that I share a lot here on the podcast as well is that opportunities are everywhere, and it's really being able to see them when they show up is the challenge. And today I want to have a discussion about awareness, self-awareness, being able to once again see things that are right there in front of you, but you might not even be aware that they're happening. I see folks, we've got somebody in the proximity of our family right now that is struggling with some different things of their life. And it's interesting that when, as an outside perspective, right, an outside person looking in on this person, it's like, you should do this and you should do, try this and try that. It's like you can see all the different opportunities for them that when they're in their own mess, when they're in their own challenges of their own life, how difficult that it is to see those opportunities when for me it's like it's obvious. It's like you should do this and you should try this, and it's like that's where the disconnect comes in. So that's the discussion I want to have here today, is talking about self-awareness. Where can you become more aware of these opportunities? Where can you become more aware of these things that you need to step into and trust the process? Trust that the right steps and the right people and the right processes will show up for you if you become more self-aware. Any thoughts on that, Greg?
So I think it's very easy to look at somebody else's life and try to solve their problem because it's just very black and white, because there's not very many emotions tied to it, right? And you and I've had this conversation as well, where we're talking about an issue in your life or my life or whatever, and we'll offer advice, and it's real crystal clear of what that other person should do. But for us being in the situation, having that self-awareness is sometimes it's hard, or sometimes you don't want to face like, this is the decision I have to make. This is going to suck. It's not going to be pleasant moving forward. But having that self-awareness and having somebody on the outside that you really trust, I think combining those two can really help you make that decision moving forward.
So when that happens to you, Greg, what happens? Is it chatter? Is it a feeling? What happens to, so when someone does maybe share an idea or share a thought with you of there, again, from an outsider's perspective, it's easy. You should just do this and you should just do that. And it would be, everything's going to work out. But in reality, it's like you're sitting in it and you're like, I don't want to do that. I just, you know what I mean? What is that for you? That's what it is for me. It's those ideas. It's the thoughts. My mind starts racing. I've mentioned before about, I'll start getting clammy hands and palm sweating and all kinds of crazy things will start, my body will shut down. I'll get headaches. Anyways, how about you? Any thoughts on as far as what happens for yourself?
So for myself, I usually, I would say I get a little, not defensive, but I'm like, no, I know what I'm doing. I appreciate what you're telling me. Depends who it is too, and what the situation is and my relationship with that person as well. But we all have our triggers, and, sometimes we need to respond instead of react, or don't even say anything at all and just say, you know what, I appreciate the input. I'll take it into consideration. But, the other person, they don't always know. I mean, they'll never know 100% of the situation, where you want to go, maybe what your goal really is, because, sometimes we don't share 100% of our emotions or the situation with that person, because it's really hard to share 100% of everything. So you're really just giving them a slice of the information, and they're giving back to you, well, this is what I think you should probably do. So it's really hard to balance that out a little bit. But for me, I think it depends on who the person is. I do try to listen to what the information is they're telling me, that if it does make sense. If somebody came to me with this problem, would I tell them that as a solution? Would that be a solution that came out of my mouth, knowing what I know? But again, you don't know 100% of what's going on in the other person's life when they bring you one slice of a problem, let's say.
What about blind spots? Meaning if, once again, we're, like you said, we're just marching through our own life. We've got our own mess that's going on in our own minds and our own lives and our families and just the stuff, our own social media feeds and just things that are going on around us 24/7. It's a lot of chaos. How much do you think, or how often do you think is creating blind spots that we can't see? So there again, it's even becoming that awareness that those blind spots even exist before you can even take the blinders off, so that you can start to open your eyes to more of that. Is any thoughts on that as far as blind spots themselves?
I mean, we definitely all have them. So just being aware that we do have them is probably the good first step. I was listening to a podcast, I think it was Joe Dispenza, and they asked him if you could change anything or have one kind of trait, what would it be? And it would be, and that person said, be aware of my blind spots moving forward. So it was very telling of, you know what you know, but that one blind spot that could wipe you out or, do some damage to, relationship or a business or whatever. If you can see that blind spot, that will give you maybe, let's say 100% of the picture, which will make you more aware and an easier decision that would be made on your side, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So, can you go a little bit deeper? Did he elaborate a little bit more on that? That was the one thing he wished that he could have. Yeah. Can you take that a little further, just out of curiosity?
I mean, for that conversation, I think it was a short answer, but I totally get where he was going and coming from because like you said, like we're talking about here, if I am aware of my blind spot, but I don't acknowledge it, that's a fault of mine. But if I don't know I have a blind spot, that's something that is just not known to me. So I think that his point was, having that blind spot or being aware of that blind spot will allow him to take action or correct it, or that's the last piece of the puzzle that will make him make a decision, if that makes sense.
You imagine if that was possible, if you could see or
Man,
not have blind spots. I mean, the decisions that you could make, and we talked about being in flow this last episode. Can you imagine the flow you could create for yourself if you just could see the entire picture and not have anxiety and not have stress and not have wow. I mean, I'm just
yeah,
like sitting here going, I'm just trying to imagine what life would be like if that was even possible.
sign me up.
Yeah, where do we even begin to have that process? So you mentioned triggers, and we've talked about triggers before, and I think that that's been a big blind spot for me has been my triggers. Is I've allowed my triggers to control me way too much. It would send me into some negativity with my own thoughts, which my negative thoughts would lead to negative actions, which then would lead me to the negative results. And negative just meaning not what I would want to have happened. It wasn't necessarily bad things would happen to me. It would just be I wouldn't necessarily reach my particular goals. But I've had to work on uncovering what these triggers are. And once again, for myself, it's more of a physical response that I will get, whether it's, stress headaches or begin to sweat, uh, sleeplessness. That's been a challenge of mine too. It's like when I lay down to go to sleep at night, sometimes my mind is racing with negative things, or I'm trying to replay the day or trying to replay a decision I need to make in the future. It won't calm down. And when I have those sleeplessness nights, that's when I can also feel like I might be in a trigger or some kind of a blind spot for myself. And how I've tried to get better at that is just through some light meditation practices. I don't necessarily go through deep long term, I'm not sitting down quiet for hours at a time, but at the same time I'll just try to get myself calm for a few minutes at a time during the day. My journaling practice has been a huge help for me. It allows me then to get my thoughts out of my mind and then down onto paper. And when that happens, it's once again, it's like it releases it from me. It's like it separates it from my thoughts, and it's like it just comes out of my body, which then allows me to kind of see it a little bit better, eliminating that blind spot. So yeah, I love that how he said that. Is there anything else that they might have even shared in that episode, or do you know of any other ideas as far as trying to see different blind spots like that, Greg?
Yeah, I think one thing you can do is, I don't know if this was from the episode or not, but like writing down or understanding your strengths and your weaknesses. Because obviously, your blind spot is probably going to come from a weakness that you have because you're not developing it, you're not leaning into it. You might not like it. It might give you resistance when you're, trying to do an action in your business that you probably need to do, but you don't want to do it. So that could be, the action is one thing, but the reason why you don't want to do it is probably a feeling or, yeah, some kind of hesitation on why you don't want to do that one aspect of your business. And that could be, the leading to your blind spot. So I think I would say look at your strengths and your weaknesses more and figure out there could be some blind spots in your weaknesses and take action on them or figure out maybe delegate them if you want, or if you can make them stronger, whatever kind of works for you.
The delegation piece, that's where I was going to take that. That's when one thing I've had to work on a lot is I was always brought up to just do it on your own, just to figure it out, never really to bring people on to give you a hand, to give you any help. I was just modeled that my entire life. And so that's been a blind spot of mine to realize that I don't need to, I can get better at my weaknesses, but I don't need to stress over like 1,000,000% improvement on my weaknesses. I need to continue to understand that I just need to keep extending into my strengths of what I do, how I show up, and allow others to step into their own strengths, which then will allow them to eliminate that blind spot for me. And then in collaboration, the two people together obviously can move faster or move further than the individual can by himself. That's something that has been a huge, huge blind spot for myself. So, once again, that's a self awareness piece that I've had to discover. I've had to realize so many different times trying to accomplish or do certain things, whether it's from a business standpoint, launching and releasing the podcast, just different things, right? I just have got to learn to continue to step into realizing that a blind spot of mine is thinking that I have to do it all on my own. And in reality, that's not the case because there's other people that can do better at what I do if I can just keep stepping into what I do well also. I love that. Appreciate you bringing that up for sure.
Yeah, and one other thing, there's a couple of signs, or at least from my experience, that you might have a blind spot, and I'm, kind of dealing with some of this stuff personally too, is, you hear the same feedback from different people, but it's the exact same feedback. So if, three people are telling you, you're talking about your situation at work or relationship or whatever, and three different people tell you pretty much the same thing, that's kind of why you feel stuck and you can't figure out why, because you're getting that similar feedback from other people, but that's your blind spot. Maybe you're not acknowledging it, or you don't want to accept the fact that you have to break up with this person or whatever that situation is. But that's one thing that I kind of brought home from this episode is, yeah, hearing similar feedback repeatedly from, two or three different trusted sources. That could be an indicator there.
Do you think it has anything to do with moving too quickly, trying to move too quickly versus once again, just kind of being in flow, just kind of allowing. We talked about allowing on the last episode, just allowing life to happen versus trying to feel like you're stressing and forcing it to happen. Is that, do you think that kind of correlates as well? Back to the
Yeah,
last episode we talked about?
I think there's definitely a connection there for sure. Like we talked about last episode, sometimes you really do need to force something or allow something to happen, and there can be a combination of the two. But I think you're right. Definitely, when you're forcing stuff, your blind spots get, probably bigger because, yeah, you're just trying too many things, and you're really holding on to that outcome where you're really not looking at the whole picture and the whole process.
Habits. What about habits? Do you think habits have anything to do with this as well? So where I even come with that is like trying to create better, more positive habits uh, to become self-aware. Once again, I talk about my journaling process, but it can be anything. It can be, I know, Greg, I know you like to take walks every day, and so maybe it's that. Maybe it's just that time of habits, the different habits that you can stack to be a positive influence to try to eliminate some of these blind spots that you might have in your life. How about thoughts on habits?
Yeah, I mean, as we talk about on this podcast a lot, habits are foundational. So I think once you realize what that blind spot is, you can definitely research or even talk to friends and family who might have gone through the same thing or have that same blind spot and see what they're doing to overcome it, or what habits they set up that really help them, think about it differently or move the needle. But yeah, habits are definitely foundational and definitely related to this topic. What are your thoughts about that, Randy?
Yeah. So one thing, the thing that was coming to my mind as well is even with the advent of AI these days, is you can have conversations with an AI chatbot or whatever you want to call it, and it can actually help you through some of these thoughts that may be coming up with different habits. I know Gemini, which is the Google version. I know ChatGPT. I think all of them at this point have the ability to. You can have a conversation with somebody. Well, it feels like it's somebody. It's actually your computer or your phone or whatever, but you can actually work through some of these potential blind spots that might be showing up, help you become more aware of what's going on in your life. That was one thing. My wife and I were brainstorming an idea for a business idea week week or two ago, maybe, and it was amazing. It was bringing up some different things to think about, some different things to look into, and with that, once again, that new awareness, it allowed us to think differently. which will then obviously get us a different result. It was uncovering some of those blind spots for us as well. So yeah, I would encourage folks, if I'm encouraging my children all the time, to, if you're not using AI often, I'm not saying every day, but often, just play around with it. Most of it's free these days. It doesn't even cost you anything. I pay for the Gemini app because I get a few extra benefits for the podcast and things that I do. But at the same time, you don't even need to pay for that as well. Just use it and get used to it. I think that if you can step into what that looks like in the future, understanding that it's a collaboration. Once again, going back to that thinking you have to do it all by yourself. I think that you might be missing out, because I've been missing out for the longest time on different accomplishments that I could be doing, or that I should be accomplishing, but I'm not, because I'm stuck in this blind spot thinking that I've got to do it all on my own. And you've got this personal assistant sitting right in your pocket,
Hmm.
and it's as smart as anybody that you're ever going to meet. All you've got to do is give it some context, let it know kind of who you are, what you're thinking about, and it'll start asking you some questions. And if you just answer genuinely, it's amazing what it'll spit back. And I know I've encouraged you, Greg, to jump on there as much as you possibly can too. You have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, AI is a game changer. I mean, I know you're, deep into it, and I use it every day. And
Do you use it every day now?
oh yeah,
Do you?
just for looking things up, or like you said, even just talking about some personal development stuff. It's pretty intuitive. So it is like having a conversation with a person, and there's no judgment. You know what I mean? Like it's just
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
No one even needs to know it's even happening.
it's just black and white.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's the part I really like about it, I think, is just, and it's anonymous for the most part too. That chat GPT, I call him or her, whatever, they're not going to tell anybody. They're not going to post it on Facebook. It's literally just kind of like an interactive journal, I guess I would say. You can position it that way.
Yes. Questions will come to my mind during the day, sitting around, different thoughts, different ideas. And I will either prompt it with a question, or I prompt it with, a different idea, just to, there again, just check it against these blind spots and see if I might be missing something, or something like that. And yeah, I use it just about every day as well. One thing, all right, a tool that, if you're concerned about the privacy and all that kind of thing, DuckDuckGo. If you're not familiar with the browser DuckDuckGo, it's a Google competitor, but it allows a little bit more privacy. Within DuckDuckGo, there's a AI tool that you can use, but then you can eliminate and destroy the feed or the thread like instantly. So if you, once again, literally, I think that Gemini and all the other ones, I think they are collecting that data. So if privacy is a big thing in your life, which some of you may or may not be, it's like maybe that's the reason why you're not trying to jump into it. Like I said, try DuckDuckGo. It's free. Once again, it's free. It's just a browser, and it has a search tool that taps into the AI tools as well. And then when you're done with it, just hit destroy, or fire or burn. I don't know what it does. It just like it destroys the thread completely, and it says it does, and I'm taking their word for it, obviously, but it says it eliminates it from the interwebs altogether. So that would definitely be a resource as well. But try those out. Try to figure out what these blind spots are for yourself. Where are you getting triggered? I like how you said that. If you're hearing the same thing from different people about the same potential trigger or same potential blind spot, that's probably a sign. And sitting with that and understanding, why is that happening? Where is that coming from? And then allowing yourself to step into that. How hard is that to do, Greg? I know it's easier said than done, for sure.
It definitely is. Yeah, I mean, you have to trust the people around you, but at the same time, logically, sometimes maybe you're holding on to something, or the advice that you're receiving is not what you want to hear, or not what you want to do. So definitely easier said than done, but there's definitely a lot of validity with that. Especially if you have those two or three trusted sources, family members, friends, that kind of thing. Those people in your life, they're there for a reason, and they're telling you, the same thing over and over again. It might not be what you want to hear, but they're doing it for your benefit. So just like I would do the same for you, and when you come up to me with an issue, I'm not saying it, to hurt you or to help you, or I do want to help you, but it's not because I'm not using logic. It's just because I'm looking at it from an outside point of view where you're kind of stuck in the middle of it.
So self-awareness, folks, just thinking about the different things, the different ideas or the different challenges in our life, becoming aware of the potential blind spots that are keeping us from achieving what it is that we truly want, really sitting with yourself and really ask yourself that question. Really genuinely ask yourself, what is it that you truly want? What are you trying to strive for? And then really stepping into your own strengths. I love how Greg brought that up a little bit ago. Owning it, who you are. What are you really good at? And what can you double down on and even get better at? And then outsource or delegate the things that you might not be as good at. We talked about AI. AI might be a great solution for you for some of the things that you might not be good at. You might not feel like you're very creative. Well, you can use the tools to help you be more creative, which is super fun. For me, I feel like I am pretty creative, but I'm not necessarily really good at the technical stuff. AI has kind of helped me with those processes. It's helped me with getting better at the different things that I'm not necessarily good at, which has allowed me then to do a lot more in a relatively short period of time. And that's what I would encourage you for you moving forward. So just become more self-aware, awareness of the things that are going on around you, the thoughts that are going on in your mind, the different opportunities that are showing up from front of you every single day, making those decisions to keep stepping into them and understanding that the next result that you're looking for, even if you don't know how it's going to unfold, you just need to keep stepping into it because the next best thing is going to keep showing up in front of you, which is going to allow you to keep making those decisions and keep stepping into this best version of yourself, which is what we look forward to having you do moving forward. So as always, we appreciate your time and attention. If you found value in this episode, we appreciate if you would leave us a 5-star review on the podcast platform of your choice and go out there and share this with as many people as you possibly can. We're trying to spread the message of the Rich Mind Podcast as far and as wide as possibly can. And you helping us do that, we greatly appreciate that. So go out there, focus on being great. And we look forward to coming back with the next episode again very soon. Until then, folks, bye now.
Thank you for joining us today on the Rich Mind Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like and share it with someone you know. Also, don't forget to subscribe on your favorite platform and never miss an episode. One last thing, don't ever forget that your mind is the first place where wealth is created. Keep dreaming big, take action, and together, let's build wealth, a legacy, and a life we love.